All right, so the first hike on my list here is the South Fork Valley Trail to Eagle Lake. You're essentially along the South Fork Eagle River the entire way. In a really pretty valley. It's very wet and muddy, so just gotta watch your steps. There's places where they put down some wood and bridges and things like that to help navigate all of the moisture there. But this is in Chugach State Park, which is huge. The entire hike, if you go the whole way to the lakes, which I highly recommend, is about 11 miles and 1,500 feet elevation gain. All right, so this next one in Seward actually gives you two options. It's at Caines Head State Recreation Area. The first time I did this was in early June, so there was a lot of snow from that winter still left. And what we did, we actually kayaked along the Caines Head Trail the whole way to a beach where we then met up with the Alpine Trail. And we took that up to the top for beautiful views of the whole bay there. And then last year, I did this a little bit later in July, so there was less snow melt. We actually decided to walk the Caines Head Trail along Tonsina Creek. And after the second bridge, there is a completely, off-trail route to what's called Callisto Ridge. Again, beautiful views all around you, not only of the bay, but just the valley on the other side as well. All right, this next hike is also in Seward. It's at Kenai Fjords National Park. It's called the Harding Icefield. It's definitely a popular route because there's not a lot of official trails in Kenai Fjords. A lot of the park is seen by boat. It seems to be also a popular option. But we did this again in early June, and much of the trail was closed. But we ended up going past where it was closed and just tackled the feet of snow and ice to get up high on the ridge that we had great views of the glacier still. And we didn't quite finish it. So if you do the entire trail, it's about 8.5 miles. Our round trip was 7 miles. So we got pretty close to the end, especially given the conditions. Coming back down was wild too, because there was no trail to follow. So we were essentially just sled riding on our butts and had our hiking poles to stop us and help us a little bit. I lost one of my hiking poles coming down one of the steep sections. So that was definitely a wild adventure. But if you're in that area, it's definitely a can't miss hike. All right, and the last one on my list that is in Seward is the Lost Lake Trail. It's in Chugach National Forest. End up going about 14-mile round trip with 2,600 feet of elevation gain. But as far as elevation gain, it seems more on the moderate side when you do it, because you're just open ridge hiking with gorgeous views, especially once you get just a couple miles into the trail. This was stunning when we were there in mid to late July. The wildflowers were everywhere, all different colors. And we lucked out on a very clear day. And again, the views, you're basically just turning your head all around you the entire time. So your neck might get a little sore from that. But highly recommend it, going the whole way to Lost Lake. You can also do this as a point-to-point trail. If you start at Primrose, it's called, and you'll take the Primrose Trail to Lost Lake and then continue on the Lost Lake Trail from there to get back into Seward. So that was a great option. I know a lot of people do that as a backpacking trip as well. All right, the next one on my list is Crow Pass. This is in Girdwood, but there's also a point-to-point trail that you can start in Eagle River and you can backpack the whole thing. I believe it's about 22 miles. Both times I've done it were from Girdwood, and it was just an out and back. The first time we did it in early June with a ton of snow, which I don't recommend, as there was small avalanches everywhere around us on the way back, which was pretty intense. And as we got to Crystal Lake, the snow was knee deep, waist deep in some areas. But I got to Raven Glacier that first time, and then the second time I did it, and later in July, I just did it as a sunset hike to Crystal Lake, and it was gorgeous. There were mountain goats everywhere. and the colors were beautiful, both on Crystal Lake and in the sky, reflecting. There's awesome waterfalls all around you. There's remnants of an old mine as you're coming through the pass as well. So again, this is a great one, and if you have the means to do it, I'm sure this would be a great backpacking route. All right, the next one on my list here is Pepper Peak via the Twin Peaks Trail. This is located just a little bit south of Palmer, Alaska, and a little bit north of Anchorage here, right on Eklutna Lake, and that's where you'll start, and you will have gorgeous views of Eklutna Lake the entire way up. I did this hike in June, and there was still a lot of snow left, especially as I got about 3 miles into the trail, but if you have crampons, bring some poles, that helps. But this is a very steep hike, so you're looking at just a little over 4 miles to the top, but 4,600 feet of elevation gain, so definitely a steep route. All right, the next one on my list is what I would call a true Alaskan adventure, to Bomber Glacier. So this is located at the Reeds Lake Trailhead. In Palmer, Alaska, it's right off Hatcher Pass, and the mountains in this area are so rugged and just gorgeous. You know, the lakes themselves are big enough payoffs for the route. I mean, you're along Reed Creek for much of the way. Beautiful places you can swim or just sit and enjoy the water. Both lakes are stunning. You got waterfalls flowing into them as well. After passing Upper Reed Lake, it's little over a quarter mile to the top of the pass, but we're talking 1,200 feet or so of elevation gain just in that short distance. So it is definitely a climb. We did this later in July, and there was still a lot of snow patches you can see, but lots of boulders to get over, climbing. So from Bomber Pass, you can actually see the plane that wrecked onto it and how it got its name. So there's a World War II era bomber plane that was out for some routine radar maintenance, and this was in 1957, and a storm blew their plane way off course, miles and miles off course, and they ended up crashing right into the glacier. There's a plaque that's fixated on the plane that tells their story that I'll show here as well. But yeah, just a really incredible, eerie feeling when you're out there among the wreckage. It just looks like it just happened, and we lucked out with a super clear day. We could even see Denali from where we were, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, this is highly recommended if you're up for an all-day adventure. All right, I can't leave out Denali National Park. Despite being 6 million acres in size, there are not a lot of official trails here, but one of them is the Savage Alpine Trail. This is a nice one. It's just, you know, it's only 4 miles, about 1,400 feet of elevation gain as you go to the ridge, but great views of the whole, you know, a big portion of the park. It's a chance for you to see wildlife. I think we saw some caribou, some moose, different things like that. So it is a beautiful, beautiful hike if you're in Denali. So highly recommend this one. All right, and the last one on this list is in Denali State Park. So right before you get into Denali National Park, it's called Curry Ridge Trail. About 6.5 miles in length, 1,000 feet of elevation gain. In terms of the trail itself, it's not super exciting, especially at the start, but your payoff at the end, assuming it's a clear day, is unbelievable. You have pretty much unmatched views of Denali, Mount Denali, or Mount McKinley, depending on who you ask. All right, there's my list. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, and I'd be happy to explain any of the hikes in further detail. But get out there and explore.